Okay, this is some advice for agree-disagree essays. So everything is about agreeing or disagreeing. The first thing you need to do with this type of essay is think about what the question parts are. For example, the first question, dogs are good. To what extent do you agree? The second question, all dogs are good. To what extent do you agree? The third question, dogs are good and cats are bad. To what extent do you agree? We can see from the first two that generally speaking the topic is the same, and also for the third one, but the specific question parts are quite different. So here we have dogs are good, but here it is a very different one. Here we have all dogs are good. So one key word here is all. So dogs are good, yes, I agree. All dogs are good. All dogs? No. If we look at the next one, dogs are good and, very important word, and cats are bad. To what extent do you agree? So look at the parts of the question and make sure you underline or highlight significant aspects. Okay, this is not a positives and negatives essay. Let's take, for example, all dogs are good. To what extent do you agree? Dogs have two main advantages. However, dogs have some disadvantages. In conclusion, dogs have some disadvantages, but the advantages are more. This doesn't answer the question if I agree whether or not all dogs are good. It's not a some people say, other people say essay. All dogs are good. To what extent do you agree? Some people say that dogs are good. They have two main reasons for this. However, other people say that dogs are bad, blah, 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 blah. In conclusion, I agree with people who say dogs are good. That's a different type of essay. It is possible to talk about positives and negatives. It is possible to talk about what other people say and what you think, but you don't have to structure your essay like that, only if it fits what you think best. Okay, so after we look at the parts of the question, we need to think about our position in 2 or 3 words. No more than 2 or 3, maybe 4 words. All dogs are good. To what extent do you agree? So your answer might be fully agree, fully disagree, mostly agree, mostly disagree, partially agree, partially disagree. So my position here, mostly agree, but it depends on, mostly disagree, but in some cases I agree. So for my position for this specific one is I fully disagree that all dogs are good. Yes, so I fully disagree. And that's it. This is my position, this is my answer. After we have our very clear fully agree, mostly agree position, we think about the reasons for this position. All dogs are good. To what extent do you agree? I fully disagree that all dogs are good because there are some bad dogs. Perhaps another reason is there are some dogs that are not good or bad. Some examples, the dog that bit me when I was young. Okay, so that is the next part, the next thing you do. After you have your very short position, your direct answer to the specific question, then you think about your reasons and you think about examples for that. Okay, now before I talked about it depends. So sometimes you mostly agree, but it depends on the situation. So in that context, you still, first of all, you still think about your position. So dogs are good. To what extent do you agree? My position is I mostly agree that dogs are good. Then I think about the reasons and examples. But in some cases, they are not good reasons or examples. Okay, so here, in some cases, it depends. So I need to think of when it depends. So dogs are good. I mostly agree that dogs are good. However, in some situations, they are not. So then I think about the exceptions if I mostly agree, disagree. Okay, one big secret to answering these is think about your conclusion first. So once again, all dogs are good. To what extent do you agree? Here is my conclusion first. In conclusion, while I certainly agree that as a rule dogs are good, I cannot agree with the statement that all dogs are good, as there clearly exist some exceptions as shown in this essay. So as you can see, my conclusion answers that very, very clearly. I certainly agree with some of the reasons. So if you write your conclusion first, you then have a very clear idea about what you need to put in your paragraphs and your introduction. So the next thing is not the introduction, it's the topic sentences for your paragraph. One easy thing to do is look at your conclusion and then base your topic sentences on the points made in your conclusion. So my first point is, as a rule, dogs are good. So my topic sentence number 1 could have, as a rule, dogs are good. So the first sentence, topic sentence, most people would agree that in general dogs are good. And then I write the rest of the paragraph. The second part of my conclusion, I cannot agree with those who believe that all dogs are good. So my topic sentence 2 has this idea, I cannot agree with those who believe that all dogs are good. For example, however, there are unfortunately some exceptions which prove that not all dogs are good. So what's interesting here, you can see that I have talked about what people think, and then I've talked about more directly what I think. So it's certainly possible to talk about positives and negatives. It's possible to talk about what other people think and what you think. But the main thing you need to think about is if it fits your essay quite well. So in this one here, about all dogs being good, I need to talk about why some people might believe that, because my own answer is very short. It can't be all, and this is a fact. So here it helps for me to talk about why dogs in general are good and why some people might believe all dogs are good because of this. And then I have to prove in my second paragraph why they're wrong. But you can have a different structure. You can have in your topic sentence 1, you can have the first reason why not all dogs are good. In your topic sentence, you can have the second reason why you disagree with that. And then in the paragraph, you can talk about the other people. Okay, after you've done the topic sentences, then you write your introduction. Generally speaking, sentence 1 is the general context, sentence 2 is the specific context and your position. So this is important to remember. Put your position in the introduction in a do you agree or disagree, or to what extent do you agree, disagree essay. Here is the sentence 1. Dogs have always played a large role in the life of many human beings. Yep, general context. While some people may go as far to say that all dogs are good, the specific question. I cannot agree that they are all good, as even though most are good, there are some exceptions. Yep. So it is very clear what my position is in reference to this question. So that's your introduction. Okay, what you need to do after that is check that your words of your introduction and conclusion and question, that they are different. So make sure that you paraphrase the question and that the wording you use in the conclusion and the introduction are not exactly the same. So you probably noticed that my conclusion and my introduction are quite similar. Did I use a different way of saying the same thing? Did I paraphrase the language from the question? Did I use different words in my introduction and conclusion to say the same thing? Okay, so when you've finished your writing, look at your writing and think about these 3 questions. Does my conclusion clearly show the reader my answer to the specific question? Do my topic sentences refer directly to the specific question? You don't have to do this, but this is a safe way of making sure you talk about the specific question. The last one, does my introduction show my answer position to the reader? Okay, let's have a look at some examples. So here is a question. Some people say that while it is possible for children to gain educational benefits from using computer IT technology, most of the time that they use such technology, it does not bring any educational benefit. To what extent do you agree? So don't forget, what is the question? So while tells us that the main message is here. Most of the time, very important, most of the time they use technology, it does not bring any benefit. It's very strong, isn't it? Does not bring any benefit. Okay? So, to what extent do you agree or disagree? So most of the time they use technology does not bring any benefit. I partially agree. That is my position in 2 words. I partially agree. Then I think of my reasons. Yep. Then I think of examples. Then I think of exceptions. Then I think about my conclusion. Then I think about topic sentences and how to structure. Okay, so our checklist. You have finished your writing. You look at your conclusion and does it answer the question? So most of the time it does not bring any educational benefit. So maybe it brings some, but most of the time no benefit for education. In conclusion, therefore, there is no evidence to prevent using the computer by children because it is a significant and necessary part of children education. But this must be controlled. We use must to give advice. We don't need to give advice here. We just need to agree or disagree with the fact most of the time it does not bring any educational benefit. So we can see in this conclusion it's not clear to the reader what this person's